Millions of Americans watched as peaceful demonstrators were arrested, attacked, and turned away. Not in distant places, but in cities and towns across the United States. And for many watching at home, it forced a question the country had avoided for generations. The promise of equality had long stood at the center of American ideals. Yet for much of the nation's history, that promise remained incomplete. By the beginning of the 1960s, millions of African Americans still lived under systems of segregation and discrimination, especially across the American South. Separate schools, separate public facilities, and barriers to voting denied Black citizens rights that the Constitution had long promised. The struggle to challenge those conditions had been building for years. In the early 1960s, it entered a new and more visible phase. Across southern cities and towns, activists organized demonstrations demanding equal treatment under the law. College students staged sit-ins at segregated lunch counters. Volunteers joined voter registration drives in communities where Black citizens had long been excluded from political life. Peaceful protest became one of the movement's most powerful tools. Images of demonstrators facing arrest, intimidation, and violence appeared on television screens across the country, bringing the realities of segregation into millions of American homes. Among the movement's most prominent leaders was the minister and civil rights organizer, Martin Luther King, Jr. King and other activists argued that the nation could no longer delay confronting the contradiction between its democratic ideals and the lived experience of millions of its citizens. In August 1963, more than 200,000 people gathered in the nation's capital for the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Standing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, King delivered a speech heard across the country, calling for racial justice and national unity. The event became one of the defining moments of the civil rights era. The movement's efforts soon produced major legislative change. Congress passed the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964. The law outlawed segregation in public accommodations and prohibited discrimination in employment based on race, religion, sex, or national origin. The following year brought another major step forward. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 targeted barriers that had long prevented Black citizens from participating fully in elections, placing federal protections around the right to vote. These achievements represented enormous victories for the movement. Yet the struggle for equality did not end with new laws. Many communities continued to face economic hardship, housing discrimination, and unequal access to opportunity. Frustration over those conditions fueled new debates within the movement itself. Some activists began calling for greater political power and self-determination within Black communities, ideas that would soon be associated with the emerging Black Power movement. The civil rights struggle also inspired broader activism. Students, religious leaders, labor organizers, and community groups across the country began pressing for change in areas ranging from housing policy to education and employment. For Americans watching events unfold, the civil rights movement forced a national reckoning. Scenes of peaceful demonstrators confronting hostility and violence challenged many citizens to reconsider long-held assumptions about justice and equality. The movement reshaped American law, but it also reshaped American expectations. By the end of the decade, the demand for civil rights had become part of a larger national conversation about fairness, representation, and the meaning of democracy itself. The struggle that unfolded during the 1960s would leave a lasting mark on the nation, transforming both its institutions and its understanding of who those institutions were meant to serve.